deal. There's a fair amount of information that if you were like me 6 months ago, you had little knowledge of. Some of you have been involved with it at the local government, I realize. Many of us as citizens, taxpayers, have not, so I hope some of that stuff is a little dry at times, but it's very important to the previous officers. At this point, we're going to have a panel come forward, and the panelists, if they please come forward and take their seats. As we wait for a second, I would like to take just a moment. We do have Friends of the Fox here, and also the Fox Wisconsin Heritage Board. They've asked sometime in the future to be allowed to publicly discuss this matter with us, and I suspect that is what we will see happen somewhere down the road, possibly before too long. This evening, as we ask them to simply allow us to make this presentation, this time is short because the general I'm trying to cover, but I did want to say to them thank you for coming, and thank you also for allowing us to proceed here as we have been, as we now proceed with the panel. Let me just take a second here in terms of the panel that you see in front of you. To start with myself, it is Ed Perkins. I'm actually somewhat new to the area here now, a little over 2 years, having run a printing operation in Milwaukee for years. Moved up here, love it up here. I want to share with you, as I was thinking of this evening a little bit, my background. Years ago when I was at the University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, I was involved in the research of new cities. Columbia, Maryland was one, Preston, Virginia was another. There were a couple others. And it's interesting today that I find myself sort of somewhat involved with this issue. But I'd like to say then to my left, we have Carol here. Carol is a nurse practitioner. It's probably important she's with us because she's not only a nurse practitioner, but her and her husband operate a farm just south of Oshkosh. It is obviously in the Parkway area. Further to my left is Prairie du Chien. He's the Executive Director of the Great Lakes Timber Professionals. To my right, you've heard Jay VERHULST already. He's the Executive Director of the Foundation for Common Sense. And further to my right, you've got John Pierce, who's really sort of top dog in the Fox Valley Initiative. We don't wear titles, but I'm going to call him top dog tonight. He is a retired marketing exec from the Venus Corporation. Okay, as far as the issues that I'm going to simply ask some questions here, and I think questions that we hope will have some very practical impact. I'm going to ask Carol, as she looks at this parkway, and based on what she has been reading and learning about it, what impact she sees this parkway having upon their operation, particularly that in the farming community. Carol?
I'm new to this process, and so I've been doing a lot of reading and trying to get up to speed on this. But as an agriculture person, and working with a lot of clients who are in the agriculture industry, we get concerned with the regulations and the zoning ordinances that seem to come after this designation is received. One of the considerations that I see is the management plan is driven after the designation is given. And so therefore, you don't know what you're facing. One of the biggest concerns, though, even before that is, I was a little perplexed that this has been in the planning stages for so long. And I have not met one private property owner in agriculture that knew about this. That's a big concern to us. Agriculture is very highly regulated already, and one of the most frustrating things that occurs in agriculture is when you have people who have not grown up in agriculture and actually done the day-to-day work that goes along with it, come in and make rules and regulations about how you're going to run your business. That just heightens the frustration that already exists all the government regulations and agencies that we deal with already. So that was my first thought.
All right. Henry, we're going to pick on you next. Tell us a little bit, if you would, Henry, a little bit more ideas. As we indicated, I think, involved with the timber industry here, but I'd like you, if you would, say a little bit about your organization, what its purpose is, a little bit of its recent history, which bears on this issue of the Parkway.
Well, thank you. I represent Great Lakes Timber Professionals Association. We're based out of Rhinelander, Wisconsin. We're a two-state organization, and we represent over 1,000 members right now. Primarily what we do is we work on a lot of different issues legislatively with transportation, timber management, property rights. We have a huge trade show, which will actually be in Oshkosh this year as an educational tool. And I guess part of what we've seen is that we've lost a good number of jobs in the state of Wisconsin. Not that long ago, probably in 2008, we had over 103,000 jobs in the timber industry, the second largest industry in the state. As was reported, I believe either late last year or early this year, we were down to 57,000 jobs in that industry. And since that time, we've lost another 1,600 jobs with the closure of 2 more mills. So if you have nowhere to go with the timber that you're growing, and we are growing much more than we're harvesting, that is going to wind up being a crisis in a couple different ways. Number one, the timber industry has high-paying jobs. I think we all agree that tourism is good for our state. It has been for our members. I mean, we hunt, we fish, we do all the things that everybody else does because we're outdoorsmen. But with that being said, the reason we have such magnificent state for forests is because they're managed. We have not allowed them so far to run up like they have all west. Although we are getting close to that point with the national forest, we have about 1.6 million acres of national forest in Wisconsin. Over 800,000 of that is off limits, and they've only harvested about 7 million board feet. They should be doing about 130, so we're losing ground there fast. So that is becoming an issue to us, even as part of a good neighbor rule, because there are a lot of invasive species that have been into our state. We're very concerned, especially in this area, because many of the paper mills are in the Fox River. And although they don't have active pulp mills on those sites, they do buy scrap from other mills. And that's primarily where a lot of our pulp goes, a lot of our sawlogs go for lumber. It gets shipped to various places. We've seen a lot of job loss in that industry as well. One of the issues that we had recently was within the Niagara Escarpment in Walworth County. We had private landlord up there and wanted some management done. Not an MFL project, just private land. Forester would end mark the sales, water went to fight for the cutting permit. Was told that he couldn't cut it until the county approved the timber sale, the marking of the timber sale. As time played out, it took him several months to be able to even get a cutting permit, and timber cutting permit said he could cut any dead or dying tree, which leaves the landowner very little value in his standing timber. So that's just one area of concern that we have within this region, and we see that growing. And so for our industry, it's a matter of loss of jobs. It's a matter of treating the environment as it should be, with management not in all areas, but we have many areas that it should be managed. And that creates the income that actually pays for the recreation and everything else that we have. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm going to do a follow-up question. I'd like you to speak to what you see. I want you to look down the road. I want you to tell me what you believe the future impact on your industry will be if this parkway was to go into existence.
What a good number of acres within the parkway. I think we're looking at 500,000 acres.
924,000 between Green Bay and Prairie du Chien.
Well, a good part of that being forested. So far, part of this initiative has no management plan in it. If you go to the management plan, it's a blank page. So I'm really not sure what the impact would be, but if there's a blank page there, I'm sure that it's not good, otherwise we would be talking about how good it is. As we go down, I mean, if we would happen to lose mills within that parkway, and I'm not sure about you, but I've never seen a national parkway that's had any industry within it. It would be absolutely not impossible, but totally, I don't know that anybody would invest that kind of money to move those mills off the river and move them out into the country and pipe the water off to them or whatever they do. I mean, it would be hundreds of millions of dollars and probably today billions of dollars to move those facilities out. So what jobs would be created to replace those? I would have to say within the paper industry, you're probably looking at $45,000 to $60,000 a year jobs plus benefits. I don't know of any tourism job that pays much more than $9, $10, $11 an hour. It's very seasonal with no benefits. I don't think the whole state is a tourism center. It's not worth it into their public roads so far. So I think long range, that's what our I don't know if you call it fear, but I think that's where we're headed, down that road.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to John Pierce now. I'm going to ask John to share with us. He's been looking at what we understand Parks Wisconsin Heritage Park Management Plans basically is all about, how it might function. And with that, I'm going to ask John to proceed.
I've tried to catch up from some 15, 20 years of work that I know the Parks Wisconsin Heritage people have put together. But I got a hold of the National Heritage Area Management Plan. It's 117 pages, and trying to review through it to find out how the management plan is written is a task. But basically, the management plan is not written until after the legislation passes. If it passes, immediately after that, then the management plan becomes a priority to accomplish within 3 years. So it'll be at least 3 years after the management, or after the after the legislation is passed, before we'll know what that management plan includes. As Henry said, it's sort of a blank page right now. In America, we tend to pass legislation lately, and then make up the rules and regulations that go after. So it's not really strange in this day and age to see something enacted and then the rules get decided upon. Certainly a big part of the effort for the Fox Heritage Group is to identify partners and to get them to sign on and to support the mission. Even though the mission is stated in the pledge online, certainly, and in the resolutions that are being asked to be signed by the local officials. Those resolutions all stay at the bottom. Excuse me, at least the pledge does. The plan is subject to change, and that is the case. We really don't know exactly what the mission and the plan and the goals are going to be until after the fact. So it's not nebulous, but it's certainly hard to determine exactly what those rules are going to be. And I'm not as quick as I used to be to pick up this amount of information and absorb it that fast. That, along with the feasibility studies and all the other studies that have taken place over the last 6 to 10 years, there's an awful lot of information about what the goals are, what the mission might be, but again, they're all subject to change.
I'm going to comment just for a second. When I first saw the Cuyahoga River video, this is the area that concerned me most, what John was talking about. To what extent, again, we can say what is in the Cuyahoga situation is going to apply to the Parkway situation here. You got to be very cautious of this. But I would also say it's best that you maybe are forewarned to what others have experienced. because I'm going to stay with the Cuyahoga, with the Northern Plains in North Dakota, with the Yuma crossing in Arizona, those three which I'm most familiar with. The repetitive statement is coming out. What they told us in the beginning is not what has happened. That the word, the promises, even if we go back to Cuyahoga, for instance, and by the way, in that sheet you got the link, so I encourage you all to listen to it. In that you will hear the statement made that the park management, the National Park Service management, did not follow the congressional legislation. Mr. Birdsall, who was the superintendent there, he had basically total control. He was not elected. He was appointed. And for some of us, we do have troubles these days with bureaucrats. And I share that because the concern that I think many of us have is, we always say the devil's in the details, folks, and it is. And it's not easy sometimes to find the details that they really need to get to that understand what lies ahead. And even then, the question is, if the legislation is written, how do we as local citizens here control those individuals who will be making those decisions on the Parkway? They're not elected. They are appointed. And the question then is, what control do we have? And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it on.
If I can jump in there for a second, the only method of control that is cited in law that we are aware of is the coordination process. What that does is it gives a local unit of government the ability to adopt the process properly, notice the process properly, and then create a plan of your own. Because the law specifically says the closest unit of government to the economic or environmental impact shall have the jurisdictional authority. Now, does that mean you get to control it? No. It means you get to create a plan, and as long as your plan is practicable or legal, then all other levels of government must be consistent with your plan. Now,
So if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in for a second on this one. Maybe you can control me a little bit too, even though I'm the moderator. I want to make this quick statement. We all remember the North American Free Trade Act. It was very heavily publicized, not many years ago. And we also, many of us heard about the North American Highway coming up out of Texas. That road was under construction big time. I have friends that have been up into Duluth and told me what they were seeing with the bulldozers in northern Minnesota, Duluth area, turning, for this road starting in Minnesota coming south, Texas coming north. There were 5 small towns. Why I don't believe in coordination, number one, it is a federal law. And very few communities know about it. But in this area, in 5 small towns, they came together and they, at that city level, they incorporated the law of coordination. And I'm telling you today, that road was stopped. And it was because of the powers of coordination. Had they not had that, they would have been forced into a cooperative meeting. Listen to the guys that would come in and told them, the gals, whatever. They would listen to them and then they made the decision. But because of coordination, they did in fact have the power to force their local community's values upon what happened, and they stopped that highway. I'm telling you, those who question it, please check it out. I don't, I'm not God. But you'll find what I'm saying is true if you do. Having said that.
well, and I would tell you this. I would not tell you that the NAFTA superhighway will never exist. I will tell you that the master superhighway will only exist on existing transportation corridors. Because the problem with that highway was they were planning to put it on all virgin land, taking farmland, going right through the middle of these little 5 communities down in Texas. And you said, well, what harm would come from that? I mean, you're going to have a superhighway coming through your town. Well, the problem was access across that superhighway was only going to be every 36 miles. And if it cut your town in half, and you had to drive 15 miles north or south to get to an overpass or an underpass, think about the additional school bus route mileage, or ambulance, or fire, or police. Any of these activities were now going to be where they would have been a matter of blocks, 30, 40, 50 miles. And as a result, these towns were able to come together. They were able to invoke the process of coordination, where the state of Texas only had one state statute that recognized coordination. One. And don't take my word for it. Go to your computer, go on the state of Wisconsin website, go into the statutes, and it's a search engine. Put in the word coordination. It only comes up 156 times in state legislation. It's in every single facet. It's in social services, transportation, economic development. There's no area, education. It's even in the acts that have been passed with regard to Homeland Security. So, if you go about this properly, you can bring any other level of government to your table in your community to deal with the issue, and the local citizens can be there to participate, as opposed to the way this project, for instance, has gone on, where they've had a number of meetings. I went online, I found 25 recognized meetings, but they were primarily with civic organizations of one kind or another, or county committees. In some cases, an entire county board took up the issue to pass a resolution of support. But as far as actually having the public engaged in this, it hasn't happened yet. And I think that's what I'm sensing, that the Fox Valley Initiative and the citizens who are concerned about this want to see happen. They want to understand the broader picture. Now, another example of this is off the coast of Seattle, Washington. There's a series of islands. It's called San Juan County. And the BLM does own some land out there. But the private landowners have been noticed because they want to make this into a heritage area, that they cannot sell their property to anyone other than a bloodline transference.
Bloodline?
In other words, I think that means if this notice gave you a heart attack and you died, somebody in your family can still represent your interest in this property.
Okay. I think Rick said enough, in my opinion, unless anybody in the panel wants to throw anything quickly that I think you need to ask this time now for the elected officials. We've been shooting our mouths off up here. It's time for you to shoot a few at us, I guess. So.
Jay, do you have any objection to this project? Jim Duncan, I'll give you coming forward. Do you have any objection to this project or projects of this type if local control is established?
You're asking me?
Yep.
Absolutely not.
Okay. So you're not against the project. What you're against is not having local control on board with the project.
I don't think I'm being I say, how is Washington doing for us now? If we can keep local control, I mean, you're doing a great job. Look at how the river's been cleaned up. Look at what's going on with regard to the work that has been done so far. But this is almost like a rejection of, well, that work failed, now we're going to take it to the national level. That's not a good thing.
You know, I want to encourage projects like this that you may not know. I'm one of the former owners of Fox City's Greenways. We have a great group of trails and stuff around. Done with a lot of cooperation and a lot of goodwill in the community. It was done locally. And we have worked together to establish and say some of those things that are the, you know, for our children, so they're around. At the same time, respecting jobs and respecting. We just had an issue out where a trail in northern Allegheny County, they were concerned that a lumberyard couldn't get across the trail. Sure, things made so they could do that, and Congress can still go on and coexist with the trail up there. But, you know, locally, that's us getting involved with it. So, I applaud the fact that you want to see local control win and then keep it.
Well, and that's a really good thing. I want you to know that I am the guy who, when I was on the Vilas County Board, saw that the DNR wanted to go from 25-75 matching grants with the counties on aquatic invasive species to a 50-50 matching grant, which would have made it impossible, particularly for rural counties, to be able to get much money to deal with the problem of invasive species. And I went to Dan Meyer, who was our state representative, and I went to our state senator, and the county sent me down to Madison, and we lobbied hard, and we got the job done. So we kept that at a 75-25 matching grant. I applaud your efforts. I applaud the efforts of the Friends of the Pond, because I think they've done a wonderful thing. But don't turn it over to Washington.
And I just wanted to, I've been in email contact back and forth with someone from the Arizona Farm Bureau, because there's the Yuma Crossing National Heritage Area that was passed in 2000. And one of the key points that he says, number one, we want to keep local control. Because he said in a large project like the one that's being proposed here, it's very hard to keep everything coordinated. And so then you've got all of these areas that you're trying to work into one project, and then it tends to be that the local governments will see to the project rather than keeping the control locally. And so what they did is they didn't have any advance warning. Theirs was passed without anyone realizing that this was coming. And so they worked for 3 years to get the local control back. So that's the first and foremost thing that he said.
I'd like to just comment, and then we'll take another question. As a member of the Fox Valley Initiative, and going back to Mr. Duncan's question directed at Mr. VERHULST, I think all of us in the Fox Valley Initiative would share the words we heard with regard to Friends of the Fox. Jim, some of the comments you made about local, you know, how we work together. We are not anti. We are simply very concerned and wanting to know before, as we just heard here, if something is passed and the handcuffs go on all of us, it's a little hard then to get them off. You understand what I'm saying with that? So, having said that, we got another elected official here that we could, okay, yes, and with the name, please.
I'm Mike McGraw.
And from where?
Allegheny County Board. I live in the town of Buchanan. I used to farm in the town of Buchanan. As far as I'm concerned, our county board already passed things already a month ago. It was already tying farmers' hands. They're starting to dictate to farmers what they can do with their land and what they can't do with their land. And I'm sure you got other county board members here if they want to elaborate a little bit more on that, but I did not vote for that. So it's already starting, if people know it or not.
Could you share an example how they might be timed?
Well, we're starting this farmland preservation. I took 80 acres of my land and developed it off for residential property, for country property. They're trying to dictate to people what they can do with their land and how many acres they can sell off and exactly what they can do with the property. I do not agree with it. It's still not totally done. And they already voted for something, and just like what you stated, they're going to pass laws now afterwards that they're passing it through, and they're going to do what they want. And you're just not going to stop it. And I even had people on there making comments of what people do out in the country and how much more it costs them and all this BS. And it was not true. None of the stuff that they're saying is true.
No,
We're bringing more tax dollars in with the homes that we got out there than what I was bringing in with my land being a neighborhood. But a farmer has it in 3, 4, 5 generations in their farmland. They should be able to do with that property what they please. It's their land. They work for it. If they would have went bankrupt, there's nobody here that would have bailed them out. Her family worked for that farm. Somebody shouldn't come up to her and tell her what to do with it.
So, you bring up some good points, when I'm corresponding with this gentleman too, he's talking about you don't know what your property rights are until the designation is passed, and then the zoning ordinances and regulations start to change. And some of the things that they talk about, and I've also been in contact with the North Dakota Farm Bureau with the Northern Plains Heritage Area. And what they're talking about with management plans, they said you need to be aware of zoning ordinance that come right afterwards. Historic districts, scenic byways, viewshed protections are huge. So when you're talking about preserving the natural landscape or the beauty of the area, and there's no reason to say that the river isn't beautiful. It is. I've done a lot of canoeing in my time. But for example, the Columbia River Heritage Gorge area, there's a big lawsuit pending now with a private citizen that built a home overlooking the gorge. And he's been told to take that down because the roof line interferes with the view shed. And that has been an issue in more than a few of these heritage areas. And this is on private property. And so I understand exactly what you're saying. There's also been a trend toward private property being used in a public manner. In other words, you're incorporated into the whole project. So that's something that's new to me, and I'm just getting a little bit up to speed on that one. So, but I hear exactly what you're saying.
Another question. Who do we have? Yes, sir.
Am I up?
Yes, you are.
My name is Chuck Murray. I'm a supervisor for the town of Finland, and I'm also a Wonderful County Board supervisor. Mr. VERHULST and I serve together on WCA committees. My question is to Mr. VERHULST specific. If this Heritage Parkway issue is approved, what process does the federal government use to circumvent or negate local zoning authority, either on the town level, Chapter 60, or county level, Chapter 59? How do they do that?
Well, until it is turned over to the National Park Service, that probably will not occur, if it is ever turned over to the National Park Service. However, the information that has been made available so far says that when the grant money runs out, it will be turned over to the National Park Service. Once it's in a national park, you're talking about land that is like an island in the state of Wisconsin. It is controlled entirely by the federal government. The police action on there will be a cooperative, there's that word, police action with local units of government, but the Park Service will be the dominating factor. And with regard to local ordinances and zoning, the Park Service, when they create their management plan, can write anything they want to in there. It doesn't even need congressional approval. It only has to be done within a certain time period and fit within certain criteria, and then it's like it's a foreign country.
Does that need county board approval?
Pardon me?
Would that require county board approval?
No. Absolutely not. Once it goes to the federal government, it doesn't require.
I would also add that the Heritage Parkway planning requires them to work with the National Park Service. The National Park Service has to approve of their management plan and puts all sorts of guidelines into their development of that management plan. So it's not a separate function at all. It's a very close arrangement, partnership, whatever. But the management plan must meet the National Park Service's approval before it is accepted and can go forward.
Yes, the next question. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Jim Ployce, County Grant Supervisor, as well as on Allegheny County Board. Some of my questions have been answered already, but I thought if the panelists could respond. As I understand it, then this decision will be made at the federal level, even though it impacts and takes away planning rights at the local level.
Well, yes, if you do not create a resolution of coordination so that the federal government has to participate with you the same way as it had to participate with the 5 little communities down there in central Texas where they were going to split their towns in half. If you have done that process, you can bring them to your table to talk about any issue. But if you have not, you remember what it said in the presentation. Coordination is the establishment of rank equal, not subordinate. Now, we're not going to be able to tell you everything you need to know about this here tonight, but as you go out, there is a pamphlet that we have created called How Coordination Plans Work. And it's a very small 8-page pamphlet that gives you a pretty good overview. But any unit of government, town, city, village, county, can adopt this process. And you don't have to do anything with it. It's a tool. And once you have adopted it, anything that is going to affect anything within your jurisdiction that affects your economy or your environment, all the other levels of government will have to come to your table, and they will have to be consistent with your plans or policies as long as they are legal.
Before I take the next question, if I might for a second, on that sheet that I passed out that should have received a copy of towards the bottom, it says last, check out the omnibus Land Management Act of 2009. I want to read this to you and then make a quick statement. We're going to move on. That act created 10 new national heritage areas. There are now a total of 49 national heritage areas in the country. The 2009 Land Management Act blocks, that is blocks, millions of acres from new oil and gas leasing, logging, mining, and all other business activities. It designates more than 2 million new acres as wilderness area. This 2009 Act changes the classification of 27 million acres of land in 12 states from multiple use to conservation act. It also authorizes $5.5 to $10 million of spending over the next 10 years, and the source for that is cited. The thing that I kind of stuck with in my mind, the state of Wisconsin already under government control 45% roughly of this state. Now, all these new heritage areas, I just mentioned this one, 27 million acres. I have to say, in my mind, what I struggle with is, what is driving this? How much land does our government have to have and have control of? I mean, that's a concern of mine. Next question, please. Yes, the front here. Sure, whatever you like.
Thank you.
Your name again?
I'm Ed Clarker. I'm a supervisor for Calumet County. And I guess I'm a big believer in transparency, so I want to tell you up front that I'm a landscape architect by degree. I lead through park systems. I also worked for a good part of my career in economic development. I understand the importance of economic development to create jobs for people and to provide living for our families. I've also worked for the Regional Planning Commission for 10 years, and one of my projects involved with the commission was the Heritage Parkway project. So I worked with these people for the last 10 years, but I've also volunteered with these people for the last 25 years. And it's because I believe in this project as something that's going to benefit local people and local communities. Now, I don't think I'm alone in this room with regard to thinking about the campaigns and ads that are being thrown about on our television screens these days, where both the Democrats and the Republicans are trying to define each other by throwing up ads that oftentimes misrepresent the opposing candidate. And I call that to your attention only because I feel that what's happening here is really a problem with semantics. I say semantics because a couple words were thrown out like Parkway and buffer that were used in the plan. And there's more than one way to take these words, of course, and I think that they're being misrepresented as they apply to this particular plan.
Having said that, if I could interject, I need to get to a question if I can.
Okay. I have a question, and my main question is, when will this organization allow us to hear both sides of the story? Because in a free and honest society, when we are asked to listen, as we were at the beginning of this presentation, we're asked to listen with an open mind, we usually get to hear both sides of the story. And I realize that in the interest of time constraints, that probably won't happen tonight, but I would like to ask when that opportunity will be afforded to hear the other side of this equation.
Let me make one comment on that. Certainly, we expect we'll have additional conversations with the public, with the private property owners, and we could certainly work with other people, Friends of the Fox, etc., to have some way that we can help get the message out. Not just the marketing that has been given to the various city, township councils, etc., but an understanding by the private property owner exactly what does this mean for them and their property. Certainly, the Friends of the Fox, the Fox Heritage Parkway, have had 15 to some number of years to get their message out. And to date, they have a number of different public meetings that they've identified. But each of those public meetings were only advised to the public of the people who are at the councils or the annual meetings of the Friends of the Fox, which were only identified to the members of the Friends of the Fox. Various other development project meetings, each of those, again, were only known by the people who were involved in those subjects. So a list of some 25 or 30 or so meetings have all been with friends of the group, people who have some reasons to want to be involved with the historic or the heritage or the environmental or the other particular things. There have been none that I know of that have identified the public at large as having a chance to ask questions and to get information from the Friends of the Fox and the Board of the Fox, Wisconsin Heritage Park.
And I want to add something to that too, because when you get into the historical aspects of how these heritage areas are put together, that has been the pattern that the public and private property owners that are involved in these areas, in the most part, they're not aware of it until the designation is received. And
That's the congressional designation.
And so we happened to find out about this. I found out about this quite by accident. Someone just forwarded me an email and said, you know, you live close by there, I don't know what this is, if you got time, go. So I went, and I'm like, I never heard of this. I don't live next to the Fox River. Why would I care about Friends of the Fox? but our whole farm is in this parkway. And to me, that's a really important thing. And I've been at Farm Technology Days in the last 2 days. I have not found more than a half a dozen people that have ever heard of this that are in this parkway. And they're like, what are you talking about? And so it's not that we're trying to say your efforts haven't been good, but there's nothing worse, as this gentleman back here who farms says, all the regulations that we put up in agriculture with, for one thing, we're not the only one, but to wake up one morning and realize, where did this come from? And so when I'm talking to the people in these other states that are going through this, and they talk about all the zoning, and all the regulations, and all the new rules that come into being. In this last article I downloaded yesterday in North Dakota Farm Bureau Policy article, you know, it specifically cites instances where individuals' rights, property rights were intruded upon. One particular person in Mercer County, he had been given a coal lease for mining on his property. That had to be rescinded. It didn't go along with the National Heritage Area Management Plan. You know, those are things that I'm talking about. If you've not been a farmer or in agriculture, you make rules with unintended consequences. And I'm not saying they're malicious, but they are unintended consequences.
I understand. Yeah, I grew up on I understand that situation, but all I'm saying is for people to keep an open mind, because National Heritage Area designation on purpose for it was in order to get broader recognition for the cultural and historic values of this particular corridor. And probably all the parkways that were being discussed as being problems, they're talking about national parks, owned properties. This is not the Heritage Parkway, which you're getting used to the term parkway, but the Heritage Parkway doesn't own any property.
Just read.
Let's be respectful and give the gentleman a hearing. He's an elected official. He wants to present some information. Let's just be respectful.
You're supposed to ask a question. Supposed to ask a question.
I mean, since I'm the moderator, I'll try to maintain the decorum. Appreciate the assistance for a second here. It is important, obviously. We're not here to start seeing how far we can raise the roof here. I don't look forward to that. And having said that, I do want to come back and make this statement. This organization that hosted this and others that are involved here and there, we're not anti. This is informational. There may be some differences of opinion. Obviously, we should all expect that. But beyond that, as far as the question of future discussions, we said yes to that. I talked to Mr. Forrester, I talked to Candace earlier tonight, I talked to Dan, yourself. We're expecting that. This particular meeting, and because of the fact that this has been underway for 15 plus years, as far as Friends of the Fox, and because we know there have been numerous bills going back, if I'm not mistaken, 2006, 2004, some of the first attempts at the congressional level, and yet here locally, so many people were unaware of this issue. So it was our intent simply to bring this to our community and basically allow a further awareness to develop. And I don't want Candace, if I could come back to you, you said it there, I can see, or yourself, to think that we're going to try to torpedo something. That is not the goal here at all. But I would like to say, having said that, I'd like to move on. If there are any other questions, if I can.
Pick one.
Yes, Henry.
Just asking people not to demonize this project based on this information, that you should simply look at it that does not own any property, and as a national heritage area, it's not going to own any property, and it is simply meant to promote tourism and cultural appreciation of the cultural history of the forest.
Thank you, Ed.
In response to the last comment you made, it is true, every heritage bill that has been passed states that the heritage group cannot own property. That is true. However, the Nature Conservancy and all environmental have the right to buy property and to get to the property that they want to do. That is not restricted. That is another consideration that the groups that I've been emailing back and forth to talk about. The Heritage Parkway group cannot own or buy property. That is true. But there can be a lot of pressure from outside groups that can come in with money and offer local governments grants to do things that they'd like them to do. So,
Okay.
that needs to be done.
We have a question here. Yes, please.
My name is Jeffrey Altman, I'm supervisor for the town of Stockbridge in Calhoun County. My question is fairly simple. My understanding is that Parkway has been worked on for about 15 to 20 years. Why is it that the general public is just first hearing about it now? If it's such a great
I think that's a pretty good answer.
We have another question in the front here. Yes.
Thank you. Chuck Schmidt, Allegheny County Board. I have a question, I guess, for Jay. This coordination, the way this used to be noticed, do we need a specific, do we have to address it to a specific agency, or can it be, say, a shotgun type approach where we just basically put all the agencies on notice at the federal level that if you're going to enact anything in our county, you request the coordination of it, that we could just sort of have this on standby rather than, or do we have to go after one agency?
I don't like the word shotgun, but I understand what you're saying. And what the Foundation for Common Sense does, it goes out and it works with local units of government to make sure you can enact the process properly so that you do have a legal standing to go forward. It is critical that you notice these federal agencies, state agencies, and, for instance, the governor, the attorney general, the president, the EPA, all of these agencies in a manner that gives you the standing so that they have to comply. You have to know the federal laws that you're applying. You have to know the state statutes that apply. And that's what the Foundation for Common Sense does. We will come in for an extremely moderate fee simply to cover costs. We're not making a living doing this. We teach you how to go through that process. We have a couple of manuals that are rather extreme that teach you about the law, and then how to go through the creation of a plan or policies that you can put out there that will stand up when it comes to the scrutiny of the application of those laws.
Okay, and this could be done before we are under attack and we can have these in place so that
The sooner the law never looks backward well. The sooner you put them in place, the quicker they have to respond, and therefore from that date forward advise you of anything that they are doing. If it's already a rule or a law, it's far more difficult to deal with. It's not impossible, but it's far more difficult to deal with.
Okay. And so then you would, given that each one on our committee agenda, you'd be available to come.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah, okay.
And by the way, the pamphlet has all my contact information on it, or if you want, I have business cards I'd be happy to give you.
Okay, any other questions here?
Sure.
I think we got one coming. It looks.
Dennis Burmeister from the town of Maine. This is all new to me. So I was wondering if we could set up a meeting to so we can hear the other side of the situation here. I know we're looking at the side where they're taking stuff away from the farmland, but there ain't, we're not should be tonight, but I think you set up a time frame to hear the other side of the story and what their plans are.
Yeah, I think we have indicated there's nothing that's on the calendar at this moment, but the intent, as we have said several times this evening, is yes, to proceed in that direction. It's just, this, you're asking for it, so, let's give it to you, so to speak, if you don't mind, we put it that way, so sure. Okay, any other questions?
Well, I'm Dave Dexter, supervisor in the town of Neenah. I came here because it was an information session, and I was hoping to get information from both sides, and I know this has come up, and you promised that we will have it. But there are representatives here from the Fox Heritage Corridor. Why can't we hear from them now so that we can, that might help us to come up with better questions if we could hear both sides of the issue? And well, our representatives here, you've been saying all along that there has been no public input. Well, so you claim from the Heritage Corridor people, well, they're here, this is their chance, why don't we let them talk?
Well, that was a comment that if you all want to stick around for probably another 2-3 hours, I mean,
all right, I'll stick around.
I'm not sure that I want to, and I don't know some of the rest of the reactions maybe. I would like to say this, that for myself, and you've heard this before, understand something. You wouldn't have had this meeting if the Friends of the Fox or the Fox Wisconsin National Heritage Organization, was calling the shots. I hate to say that, but they have had tremendous amounts of time. They've got organization. They have to have resources because the obvious is there. So, I mean, the whole point of this meeting was, again, for the elected officials to ask questions, and I don't think we should get into tonight because, first of all, in all candor, what I would anticipate happening without having sat down with Candace and some of her people and talked about this and had an exploratory meeting, what are the issues we're going to try to address and plan it and think it out a little bit. I'll be honest with you, as somebody said to me earlier, one of the elected officials, I'm trying to see if I can find his face, I'm sure he's here. He said, I know what this will become, a shooting match, a hollering match. He was concerned about that, and we heard it earlier. The gentleman in front, let's be respectful of the decorum. Right now, I'll tell you, I'm getting tired. I've been at this for some time here, so I would like to say, in respect to the issue, to give it proper due preparation and bring it back again. But I do not give it to them. The gentleman in the front. Microphone up here, please.
Well, I think everybody can hear you.
No, there's a microphone for you right behind you.
My name is Bob Schmeichel. I am the town chairman of the town of Neenah. The issue at hand here is two-sided, obviously. I think that there should be a double panel set up with a moderator, so both sides can do it in a way that is passionately correct and informationally based and not emotionally charged. If you remember one thing in the state of Wisconsin is although Leopold was a great leader for preservation of historic heritage, his mantra was, you take care of your land and water will take care of you. I think that's what we got to keep in mind.
Okay. Somebody's got a hand up something.
Yeah. I concur with I would concur with having both sides on. However, I would ask that questions be set to a panel in writing so we don't have an evening where people are getting up and pontificating over the issue.
Question for the Senator.
Town Chairman, Town of Utica. I'm glad that you're doing it the way you're doing it because we just had a unit meeting in the town of Bono, and somebody brought this subject up and just wanted people to be aware of it. And it passed back and forth between 3 people. And somebody from this Fox River, whatever organization just blew a fit. Said, shut up, so take a listen to you. Everybody in the whole room like, what's wrong with you? So we don't really need that kind of activity. I've got land on the Fox River. I think we've got enough parks in this state forever and ever. We're set, we're fine, don't need any more parks. We don't need more bureaucrats telling us what to do with our land. But I agree we should have a meeting with everybody involved. But I wouldn't do it here, like you said, we'd be here till 2 in the morning.
Yeah, thank you. speak. It is 9 o'clock. Do we have another question in front of you? Yes, sir.
Ken Schaefer, Chairman Tom Stockbridge. This meeting should have been 10 years ago. We're calling perhaps a joint meeting now. Discuss our issues. Should have been done 10 years ago, but we were kept in the dark. So these people have come forward to try and inform us so we can talk to the friends of the park. There's some questions answered both ways. Like I said, should have been done 10 years ago.
You know, if I don't see anybody else jumping up and down to ask a question, I think we should probably call it. I see Dan, who I met earlier.
Dan Michael on Heritage Parkway, and I'm actually really happy about this because I spend an awful lot of nights, sometimes in driving snow, driving up and down the riverway to do meetings with communities where it's been advertised in the newspaper, and I show up and I'm talking to 5 people. So I'm glad you have a little yellow brochure that says demand a public hearing. Please demand a public hearing. Trust me, we're just trying to do something good.
Yeah.
I know you're worried about it going sideways. Get involved and tell us and share with us. We're trying to prevent it from going sideways. We're just trying to do something good. We work very hard on this. So we appreciate your time. And stop by and grab one of these on the way out the door.
Dan, I would like to say quickly, I'd like to say just quick, Dan, thank you for the comments. And again, I want to say to Candace and the board, and some of you who maybe wanted to move forward with this discussion, that I really think it was best we have it the way we had it. We've heard some expressions with regard to that. And again, to reiterate, there's nobody here that is anti-friends of the box. Our concern is going to be our community, and yes, the control, especially the local control. And from that standpoint, I mean, I think we look forward to what lies ahead, and hopefully we'll see things develop in a way that we all will be pleased with. At least that's what we would like to see. So I think I'm going to adjourn the meeting for the evening. I want to say thank you to everybody who came, especially I'm going to say you elected officials. A lot of times, you know, a meeting like this, we don't see that many here. It was a very good representation, and I want to say personally thank you, because that is so important for us. Thank you.